We'll go back in time to revisit a combo from the lunar cycle. Snitch au revoir. It has never really seen any play, and with good reason. It's a very bad combo. Sure, it is a magnum opus on steroids, but at what cost? For a 4-card combo requiring 3 more cards than magnum opus to assemble fully. 2 extra memory, and all you get is 1 extra credit for each click you take on it. Not worth it at all. Even through the last 2 cycles, we still haven't received any cards that help this combo out enough to justify running it in Criminal. Think of it. You need to assemble 4 different programs in your rig. That's something that Criminal cannot do. Even with logos, by the time you assemble your au revoir programs, the corp is almost going to win. And not to mention the memory issue, which Criminals still struggle with. But we have received a new card 2 cycles on that might make these programs worth running. Yep, it's Turning Wheel. Turning Wheel activates on each run, unsuccessful or not, on HQ or R&D. So you can gain money while collecting extra accesses for the future. That is something that is now worth attempting. Is it? We still haven't actually solved the problem of needing a lot of memory for our breakers and the au revoir combo, and we haven't solved the problem of tutoring these programs reliably. So it's still a bad combo. It's still nowhere near competitive. But I'm here to find out the answer to the question. Is this combo broken when it's assembled? Let's find out. Of course, I'm going to play this in Chaos Theory instead of Criminal. Criminal is just a horrible faction because they don't have program tutors, or rather, non-breaker program tutors, as outside of logos. And they don't have the memory, whereas Chaos Theory has all the memory she needs. Shaper is the memory faction, not to mention the ID ability. I'm up against Jinteki RP today. It's a 54 card deck. So we are going to expect slow play from both sides. I'm going to start off with a single au revoir. Au revoir Snitch is really good against RP. Why? Because RP wants to tax you in clicks. Force you to make a pointless run on centrals before checking the remotes. That is the RP tax. That is its advantage, and that's why it used to be so powerful before IG and Polana came out. However, Snitch just gets rid of that because you can conveniently get your Snitch credits and your Turning Wheel activations on central runs, like this. I Snitch and expose a Cortex lock, so great, I don't have to eat the net damage. I don't have to eat the face check, and I can now swing over to his remotes to trash stuff. Now, I see a daily business show which I can trash, but that will cost me 1 net damage. Is it worth it? Tough to say. I think it's not worth it. However, since I declared I wanted to access at this point, I couldn't say I jack out and gain 2 credits. So my last click would have been to trash the hostile infrastructure, except that I don't have enough money, so I'm just going to get my Snitch money. Next turn, I'm going to trash the hostile infrastructure. I'm going to expose the R&D Ice. It's a Tsurugi. I'm not going to jack out because he cannot rest a Tsurugi, so I'm going to access a Global Food from R&D, swing over to the remote, and kill the hostile. Suddenly this looks like a horribly good matchup for me, and to make things worse for my opponent, I draw my 3rd au revoir so early on. This is another good benefit of running 40 cards. Don't get me wrong, I got very lucky there. So I'm going to keep swinging over on the central, swinging like a monkey on vines, getting 3 credits each time, and about to trash the daily business show. No, hostile infrastructure, bad. Gonna trash that one first. Okay. So all his infrastructures are gone, he spent too much money raising it and doesn't have enough money left to do anything else. He's getting lots of daily business show activations, which means that there are probably no agendas in hand. Still, I want to trash it sooner or later. So I'm just gonna swing over on R&D, get my money. Oh, nope, this time I'm actually accessing R&D because again, he cannot rest the Tsurugi. He only has 3 credits. So let's go into RP server and oh my gosh, I am such a luck sack. That is a future perfect, and we both did 0, so that's mine. Wow. That is something. Okay, so I'm up 5 points already, 2 very lucky early runs, and this should be a very easy game. Just need to find 1 more agenda. So I'm just gonna build up my board state, and really just grind my opponent out. I mean, you won't expect this. The runner grinding RP out. A 54 card RP. How do you grind that out? Well, when you're on match point and you have au revoir Snitch, you can do all the grinding you want. Alright, try to install SMC there. That's no dice because I don't have enough memory yet. I need 6 memory for that, and I still haven't found my astrolabe. So I would trash his daily business show, but there's ice on it. It's a Komainu, I'm not gonna take damage. So right now I'm just gonna keep drawing. Ooh, look at that! Yeah, my whole combo is gonna be up very quickly, even before I draw half my deck. The turning wheel has arrived. Next turn is gonna be install turning wheel and begin rampaging. Centrals, each time gaining 3 credits and 1 token on turning wheel. Now I expose the Sundew Ice. If it's something that I can easily click through or something, I'll go through, but nope, it's another Komainu. So I'm gonna give him his credits. I'm gonna concede the credit war. It's fine, because all I need is that one big run on R&D or HQ with turning wheel to win. That being said, I still do want to control his assets. So if there are any naked assets lying around, especially Bioethics Association, I need to respect that and get rid of them. He continues playing very horizontally, not just with assets but with ice. He wants to make sure that I cannot trash any of his assets, and with good reason. If I'm gaining 3 credits every click, I'm going to be able to trash every single damn thing in his deck. So he needs to protect every single thing, which means that his defenses are spread very thin. He cannot afford to prevent that one big run on R&D. Once I find my Mimic, I'll be able to get lots of accesses on R&D. But it's been pretty slow so far. You only have 4 clicks a turn, and you don't really want to just au revoir 4 times every turn. So I'm actually trying to draw up here, drawing up for my astrolabe, which I finally find. The astrolabe is quite important. This means that I can now get my Mimic out to deal with a lot of his low strength sentries like Komainu and Tsurugi. More importantly, it gets the Hyperdriver out. With Hyperdriver, I am hyperdriving my way to victory. With so many clicks, I can now check a lot of his cards. Now, my first order of business right here is to trash the Genetics Pavilion, because that's the one way I'm going to lose this game, via net damage. Flatline. It's going to be a disaster if I hit a Psychic Field or a Snare or something, and I cannot afford to draw back up for the rest of my turn. So, click 1 is install SMC, followed by a run on R&D. This is a regular run. If he resists the Tsurugi here, I'm going to bring my Mimic out, which will deal with a lot of his ice. Tech startup, bin. Alright, now I'm going for the Genetics Pavilion. As I said, this is something that needs to be trashed, and I have a lot of money to trash it. Yeah, who would know that? Who would expect that Shaper has enough money to deal with asset spam? Well, or Reverse Snitch does that for you. So that's one good thing when you have the entire combo up. It's so efficient. Now, it's a Yagura, and I can't be bothered to bring out my Gordian Blade, so I'm gonna let him deal the 1 net damage and flip the top card. I'm gonna trash the Genetics Pavilion, so I won't lose the game. He resists another hostile. His third one, well, I have to trash it, and then I'm gonna go for the hostile here. Exposing it, I see a Komainu. That's no problem. Again, if he resists it, I'm just gonna bring my Mimic out, and I only have 2 cards in hand. Not gonna be very taxing at all. Bring it on. So yeah, this kind of oppressive hostile infrastructure decks are pretty powerful, but not when the runner economy is so good. And he doesn't have any win condition. It seems like those bioethics IG decks, they seem to have no win condition except to just completely grind you out with net damage, which is very annoying. You really, I mean, scoring agendas is part of the game, and this just goes contrary to that. But hey, I'm doing very well right now. As I said, I'm on match point, and I'm controlling his most important assets. I still want to find the time to check the other 2 assets at the end there. They could be bioethics associations. The reason I can't check them on regular turns, my 4-click turns, is because if I hit a Psychic Field right now, I could lose to Neuro EMP. We have to play very conservative here. So I'm not going to check them until I find my 3rd Hyperdriver, which is in my hand. With a Hyperdriver, I have 7 clicks to check his remotes and then recover from any net damage should he fire snares, psychic fields, so on. Daily business show, it needs to be dumpstered. I'm going to dumpster it. Look at me, while I'm swinging around from branch to branch like an ape in the woods, I am gaining turning wheel power counters slowly but surely. That's beautiful. I'm gaining money, I'm gaining power counters. This is probably one of the best possible matchups you can ask for as Au revoir Snitch. So, Komainus are so cheap. 4 credits, that's nothing. I can make that easily back in 1 or 2 clicks. Trash the daily business shows, make him really struggle as he gets agenda flooded, and I'm going to install that Hyperdriver. Next turn, as I promised, I'm going to check his remotes. I mean, sure, I could be spending all my turns simply hammering his centrals for turning wheel power counters, but if I can control his assets, why not? So I'm going to control his assets, trash the Ronin. What's this? Bioethics, that's definitely going in the bin, and I'm going to kill his money as well. I'll make the oppressor feel oppressed. He doesn't get any money going, and he is going to eventually leak lots of agendas from that turning wheel, which he has absolutely no answer to. Gonna get a couple more turning wheel power counters, get a couple more Aurora activations. I'm on 14 credits, very healthy level. He is struggling for money, struggling for card draw, struggling to even flatline me. All his hostiles are in the bin. I think it's time to put him out of his misery. Let's go for R&D. Do you want to resist Surigi? I have the Mimic. I'm just going to pay 4 credits. Nope, no point. Sure. I'm going to access 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 cards of R&D. Hedge Fund. Assassin. Global Food. Notice I drew up to 6 cards before hitting in case I hit double snare. Doesn't matter, I found the Global Food to win. So going back to the start of this video, this is not to show that Au revoir is really good, because it isn't. I cherry-picked this game from a couple of games I've played. Honestly, I don't usually do this. You know, it's not very nice to only pick games where I win and discard those games where I lose, but to be frank, to show you the how Au revoir and Snitch works, I need to do so. And the truth is, a lot of other decks just give you a lot of problems. Au revoir does give more money than Magna Opens and is very efficient. We know that ever since it came out. But on the same token, we also know that setting it up is nearly impossible against any sort of fast deck. Rush Wayland, Rush Palana, and obviously Fast Probiotics. You're not going to get your full combo off as easily as I did this game. And even against more glacier or slower opponents, it's still not that good. Like this one, for example. So the main purpose of this video is to ask ourselves, with Turning Wheel now released in the Liberated Mind, how good is the combo? And turns out it's not very good. So I saw Turning Wheel at a pretty timely juncture, roughly about, at the end of the early game. I have 2 copies in my deck, and I drew it, I didn't draw it on the first turn, but it's not like they were all hiding at the bottom of my deck. It's pretty average. There were 15 turns this game. I won on my 15th turn, and all it gave me was 5 extra accesses, using 10 Turning Wheel tokens. It's not nearly good enough. I mean, I think maybe my expectations were heightened a bit too much, because it seemed so good when it was first spoiled, when I did my review of it. But now that I'm trying it, even though I have a deck that is dedicated to activating Turning Wheel by jacking out on centrals, it's still quite underwhelming, to be honest. I had the impression that I could, just build up lots of resources by constantly hammering centrals, and then just go in on the final turn for one big run on R&D that allows me to see the entire deck. That was my notion of Turning Wheel. This was very far from it. Well, the good news is that it cannot be purged. The corp can do nothing about Turning Wheel at all, except to put more ice on centrals or to score a Nisei, which kind of disrupts it. But it's still not very good enough. And the main reason why this is the case is because I was way too distracted with my opponent's remotes. It's not wrong. I have to be distracted. If the corp is doing anything right, if the corp is even trying to win, you have to actually challenge the remotes. Sure, this particular corp wasn't scoring agendas at all. He had absolutely no way to win on agenda points, so it is arguable that I could have just went on this all in on centrals. But for any other regular corp, you have to contest the remotes. This one also provides a bit of remote pressure in the sense that while I didn't have to bring out many breakers, all I needed was a Mimic to get through everything. I still needed to spend clicks checking his remotes and trashing the bioethics instead of hammering centrals. And this applies to a lot of corps. If it's fast draw biotics, you have to check the Sense. If it's Palana, you have to check the remote, trash the caprices, challenge the agendas before they win, So in some way, shape or form, you need to invest resources into installing your breakers, running the remotes, and this saps time that should be spent on charging your Turning Wheel. And this is why Turning Wheel just isn't that good, because you need to invest 2 clicks into running centrals in order to get 1 extra access, which is not a very good trade. So even in a deck, again, that is specifically tuned to activate Turning Wheel as much as possible, you just don't have the resources to get a lot of Turning Wheel activations. I'm not saying it's a bad card, but it's not the dream dig the entire of your opponent's deck card that you might imagine it might be when comboed with Narrow Servant or Snitch or anything like Account Siphon or Sneak Door. I think it's still a good integration card to integrate into Andromeda decks, Gabriel Santiago decks, but if you're trying to build around the Snitch combo, don't expect too much out of it because you'll be distracted in running your opponent's remote sooner or later, and that takes away from the extra accesses that you should be getting, that you thought you would be getting when building the deck. So that's kind of a deceptive part of the turning wheel that you don't really see at first glance when you see the card. It seems so good on paper, but in practice, your clicks have to go somewhere else. I probably spend less than 50% of my time charging the turning wheel after I installed it. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hope that was educational. Happy net running. See you around.